Good morning everyone. So here we are again. I wasn't expecting to be doing Sunday school online again, but it's been nice in the past few weeks at least to see lots of you at church and as we've met together in our Sunday group. Hopefully virtual Sunday school isn't here to last, it's just for a short time. Shall we start our time together by praying? Dear Father, thank you that we can meet together even if it is online. Thank you that we have Bibles where we can learn about you and draw closer to you. Please help us today as we look at the Bible story to understand more about you and to grow in faith. Amen. So I'm wondering how good your memories are. I'm sure they're much better than mine. I'm a great one for lists to help me remember. And I've got one here. It's my shopping list. I wonder if I read it out, if you'll be able to remember all 10 items. Here we go. 5 bananas, free-range eggs, a bag of carrots, some cheddar cheese, some ham, 6 yogurts, carton of orange juice, some toothpaste, some washing up liquid, and dog treats for Wilbur. Wilbur's my black cocker spaniel. Okay, I'll give you a minute or so and see if you can remember everything. If you're watching this with someone else, you might want to write it down and see who can do the best. Okay, I'll just give you a little while and see if you can recall all those 10 items. So, how did you get on? I expect lots of you got 10 out of 10, didn't you? Let me just run through the list again and you can check. 5 bananas, free-range eggs, a bag of carrots, cheddar cheese, ham, 6 yogurts, orange juice, toothpaste, washing up liquid, dog treats for Wilbur. Okay. Now I'm going to show you 10 items and it's the same idea. You've got to have a good look at them and then I'll remove them and you see if you remember them. Okay, now here's my tray. I'm going to show you one at a time. Got a small jam jar, a spoon, a box of matches, a highlighter, a marble, a light bulb, a chestnut off a tree, a fir cone, a bunch of keys, and a painted stone. Okay, have a little look at those once more. See if I can tilt them so you can see them a bit better. Okay, I'm going to take those away. Now again, you might want to see if whoever you're watching this with can remember as well as you or better than you, and you might want to jot them down if you find that's easiest. So, give you another minute and see if you can remember them all. So, did you get them all? Who's best at remembering in your family? Often it's easier to remember things if we've actually seen them. So I don't know if you found the tray easier or the shopping list, but sometimes if we see something, it helps us to recall the item or an event. And I wonder if you can think of anything in the Bible, a sign or a symbol, that helps us to remember something that God did. Any ideas? I've thought of a couple. Now this is a symbol that we're seeing a lot at the moment, isn't it? The rainbow, which we've had in windows and everything to remember the NHS. But God had the idea before that, didn't he? In the Old Testament, in Genesis, we have the story of Noah and the flood. And at the end of that story, we hear that God said that he would put a rainbow in the sky as a reminder of his promise to Noah never to flood the earth again. So a rainbow is something that reminds us of an event that God did. The other symbol I've got here is a cross. Now, we have crosses in our churches. When you're next back at St James, you have a look around and there's lots of crosses all round the building. We wear them as jewellery, don't we? And they're often in pictures and symbols in all sorts of things. And what does the cross remind us of? It reminds us, doesn't it, of Jesus' death and resurrection, because it's an empty cross. Jesus isn't on it. He died but rose again. And that's a physical reminder, isn't it, of what Jesus did. And in our story today, there's another thing which you may not have heard of before. It's called the Ark of the Covenant, or the Covenant Box. And this was where the Ten Commandments were stored. And wherever the Israelites went, the priests carried it because it was a symbol that God was with them wherever they went. And the Ark of the Covenant is going to be important in our story today. But before we have the story, I thought it was time to stretch our legs and to get up and move around a bit. And we've got a song, and it's a song by Awesome Cutlery, and it's called God is Bigger. And we know that whatever our problems, whatever our difficulties, God is bigger and he can handle it and he'll be with us. So let's join in this song together now.
Sometimes life can get us down. Things that happen make us frown. Slip on a banana skin, trip and fall into a bin. Sometimes we just wonder why. Things that happen make us cry. We get ill or hurt ourselves, but we can always tell each other. We can always tell each other. God is bigger. God is stronger than anything that could ever go wrong. God is faithful. God is loving, working in us to make us like his son. Sometimes people make us sad, wind us up and make us mad, call us names or pull our hair, laugh about our underwear. Sometimes we feel on our own. Things that happen make us groan. Nothing seems to go our way, but we can always tell each other. We can always tell each other. God is bigger. God is stronger than anything that could ever go wrong. God is faithful. God is loving, working in us to make us like his son. This is the part where you can make some noise. Say ho, 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 ho. Let me hear everybody, everybody let me hear. Say ho, ho, ho. God is bigger. He is bigger, 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 bigger. God is stronger. He is stronger than a hurricane. God is faithful and he's loving, loving. God is bigger. He is bigger.
Well, I hope you enjoyed joining in with that song. Now, just in case you didn't remember all 10 items on the tray, here they are again. There's the fir cone, the highlighter, the small jam jar, the painted stone, marble, a spoon, a chestnut, box of matches, light bulb and a bunch of keys. I'm sure that quite a few of you got all of those right, and well done if you did. So our true Bible story today can be found in the Old Testament part of the Bible. That is, the part before Jesus was born. And it's in the book of Joshua. So you won't be surprised to hear that the leader of the Israelites at this time was a man called Joshua. Moses had died, and Joshua had become the new leader of the people of Israel. It was 40 years since they'd left Egypt, where they'd been slaves, and they were now on the point of entering the promised land, the land which God had first promised to Abraham. They were really close to the promised land, but there was one last obstacle to overcome, the River Jordan. And this was a huge expanse of water which was blocking their way into the promised land. And it was the harvest season when it was in full flood. So it may have looked something like this. Let's listen and see what happened. Did they manage to cross the river without drowning? And let's not forget, we're not talking about 1 or 2 people trying to cross. It tells us in chapter 4 of Joshua that there were 40,000 men, plus women and children and animals. So quite a challenge. All the people of God were getting ready to go into the land God had promised to Abraham. The night before crossing the river, Joshua told the people to get ready, saying, "Tomorrow the Lord will do amazing things among you." Then God said to Joshua, "I'm going to show all the people that I am with you just as I was with Moses." Joshua knew that God was going to do a miracle to show that he was leading them. He told the people, "Come and listen to the words of the Lord. This is how you will know that the living God is with you and will save you from all your enemies. The priests who carry the covenant box will go ahead of you. Then see what will happen." So the priests marched ahead with the covenant box. This was to show that God was leading the way. The covenant box was so holy that only the priests could touch it, and the others had to stay far away. The River Jordan was in flood, but as soon as the priests put their feet in the river, the water from upstream stopped flowing. It piled up in a heap far away so that everyone, including the animals, could walk over. The priests carrying the covenant box stood on dry ground in the middle of the river whilst everyone walked across. As soon as everyone was safely across, the Lord told Joshua that one man from each of the 12 tribes must pick up a big stone from the middle of the Jordan and carry it on his shoulder. They set up the 12 stones together to be a sign of the great miracle the Lord had done. That way they would always remember it. Then the priests came up out of the river carrying the covenant box, and as soon as they set their feet on dry land, the waters of the Jordan came flowing back again. What an incredible story! Do you remember the song we sang earlier, God is Bigger? Well, God certainly showed Joshua that he was bigger than a flooded river, didn't he? In verse 7 of Joshua chapter 3, it says this: "What I do today will make all the people of Israel begin to honour you as a great man, and they will realise that I am with you as I was with Moses." And if you remember, as Moses led the people of Israel out of Egypt where they'd been slaves, God parted the Red Sea so they could cross over on dry land. And here we have a very similar situation, but it's not the Red Sea, it's the River Jordan. But both miracles show God's presence with his people and his amazing power. So at the beginning of our time together, we thought about remembering and how often seeing something helps us to remember better. And that was the point of the 12 stones in the story. Do you remember? One person from each tribe had to pick up a big boulder from the river and carry it and put it in a big pile. And that pile was like a memorial of what God had done for the Israelites, parting the River Jordan. And I've got some stones here as well. They're not big boulders. I didn't think either that I could either find any in my garden or be able to carry them. But I've just dug up some stones from my garden. And I wonder if we could do something to remind us of the amazing things that God does in our lives too. Perhaps if you go out for a walk with your family or you're in your own garden, you could find some stones. It doesn't have to be 12, but 12 maybe will help you remember the story. If you haven't got that opportunity, perhaps you've got some Play-Doh or some plasticine and you could make 12 balls or rock shapes, or even you could draw on paper and colour them in a rock or stone shape. And then I thought we could use those to help us to remember what God does in our lives. And what you could do is, when you think of something that God has done, you could use it as a way of saying thank you, or just a way of acknowledging something amazing that God does in our lives. And you can take that maybe 1 a day or 2 a day, how often you think of something, and use that as a prayer opportunity. And I thought that we could end our session together by praying and using some of the stones that I've got. So let us pray together now. And I'm going to try and pile my stones up in a little bit of a heap like they did after they'd come through the River Jordan. Dear God, thank you for Jesus. Thank you that you sent him to earth to be with us. Dear God, thank you for all the wonderful things you have created, and especially all the beautiful autumn leaves. Dear God, thank you for creating us with so many different gifts and talents. And dear God, thank you that you are bigger than any problem that I have. Amen. So that's all for today, but don't forget to tune in next week for another children's session. Have a good week, all of you, and hope to see you very soon. Bye!